Yeah. Okay, everyone has their notes ready? So if we have time at the end, we're gonna practice the phone script, but I'll briefly glaze over it. So it's just like, hey, is Nick available? Yeah. Hey Nick, this is Jared. I'm the service manager with Cutco Sharpening, you know, the kitchen knives that you have. How's it going today? Build some rapport. If they try and hang up, then you say, you know, don't worry, I'm not trying to call and just sell you something over the phone. As I mentioned, I'm a service manager in the St. Paul area, and I was taking a look through our records, and it looks like you've had your Cutco for about 8 years now. Pause. They're like, yeah, we have. Okay, cool. How do you love them so far? That's awesome. Okay, you still have all your fingers, blah blah blah. Well, Nick, I don't know if you remember the guarantee when you originally bought the knives, but you're actually entitled to free sharpening every 2 to 3 years. We just say 2 to 3 years just to get urgency, especially if they have like 8 years of them, right? When was the last time you had your knife sharpened? Most people are going to say, I've never had my knife sharpened. Okay, cool. Well, we do recommend it, and it's totally free for you. You paid for it when you originally bought the knives. Part of what that process looks like would be me coming by, I evaluate everything, I resharpen everything, and I make sure it's in perfect working condition just like the day that you bought it. Are you still in blank area? Okay. And are you around during the day or the evening's better for you? You know how to book an appointment, right? Morning, afternoon, evening. Great, well, I'll be in the area on blank day. Does blank or blank work better for you? Oh yeah, and one last thing, just so you know how it'll all work, I'll sharpen everything up, evaluate everything, and then I'll also bring the catalog along so you can take a peek, but there's absolutely no pressure that you have to buy anything. It's good to get that out there so they know like you are going to be bringing new products and it's not just a sharpening, or you need to set that expectation. Okay, so this was like the biggest thing when I started doing service calls. Like we just had no idea what we were doing, me and Juju specifically, because we kind of did it together. So there's a couple things when you do a service call that I find is like a good like skeletal structure. Every customer is going to be different. Every situation is going to be different. Every package that you build with each customer is going to be different because they already have Cutco, right? This isn't like a demo where you're just showing them the 3-set close, right? Because they already have Cutco. You got to figure out how to present all of Cutco's products, right? I'm not going to go in depth on like the cookware or like the flatware or the accessories or like upgrades today. Like you guys can go on Vector Connect. There are like incredible audios from Gem and Net from top level CSPs giving messages on all that stuff, and go in and listen to that for actually learning how to sell different packages. But I'm just trying to give you guys like the actual framework of how to structure a service call and how to actually sell on them. So first thing you do when you get to the door, you know, smile, introduce yourself, ask how they're doing, right? What I like to do when I walk into houses is I like to compliment one thing, like a genuine compliment, not just like, your house is really nice. You know, like try and, like if they have a dog, oh my gosh, I love dogs. What kind of dog is this? Right? Stuff like that, right? Try and build rapport that way by giving them a compliment. It's really good for like first impressions when you walk through the door. Like how many of you guys have ever done any in-person stuff? Okay, great. If you haven't, like the first impression is huge for gaining trust and them really liking you. I like to say like me, know me, trust me, buy for me, right? So once you get into their kitchen, right, tell them like, hey, let's set up here, wherever you guys feel like is most comfortable. For me, I like to stand when I do sharpening and stuff. I don't feel comfortable like sitting and sharpening, so a lot of times I do it at the island if there's like a big enough island that's wide open. If not, do it at the dining room table where they'll be able to like lay out all their Cutco, but you'll be able to lay out all of your products that you bring with to show them as well. So have them lay out all their Cutco for you, and then the next thing I do is I like set the foundation with the customer of like what's actually going to happen on this appointment. So I lay out something I call the 3 promises. Okay, so Mrs. Jones, I got 3 promises for you today. First one is I will evaluate all your knives, sharpen them, make sure they're good to go, and show you how to send in any of the knives that are beyond what I can do for you today, if you guys send in knives for customers, which I highly recommend mailing them in for customers. Like, it is such a good service to do for people, because 90% of people aren't going to do it on their own, because it's a hassle for them. Once you get in the rhythm of knowing how to do it super easily, you can order like service supply stuff where like you can get sheets and bags. You can order ARS tags where all you have to do is like put all the knives you just sharpen in a box and tape the tag on it that Cutco sends to you, bring it to UPS, and they ship it, right? Super simple, but it's good service to provide. So I always say, I'll evaluate your knives, sharpen them up, and if anything's beyond what I can do, I'll actually mail them in for you. I just charge the shipping on it, okay? And what I do is usually I'll charge them $30 cash, right, for shipping, right? And I'll CTR the return shipping when I fill out the form, right? You guys know how to fill out a form for, okay, it was in the videos, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Okay, the second promise is I will show you new products in the catalog, like I mentioned over the phone. I'll show you new products in the catalog, like I mentioned over the phone. And we can create a wish list. Doesn't mean you have to get all of it today. However, I will do my best to tempt you with the sharp deal. So I'll show you new products in the catalog, like I said over the phone, and we can create a wish list. Doesn't mean you have to get it today. However, I will do my best to tempt you with a sharp deal. Smile, laugh, try and be funny. The jokes hit in person. The older they are, the harder they laugh. And then my last promise is I'll tell you about my recommendations program or my referral program, which is where you can actually help me out the most. And with that one, you have the opportunity to win some free Cutco. If you guys want to do like a giveaway, like if they give you X amount of recs, give them a peeler or whatever, right? Do that if that's what you guys want to do. Now, when you start the sharpening, so the first thing you're going to do, like I said, you're going to evaluate, you're going to sharpen, and build rapport. So when you're sharpening, you're not selling. Like, you're sharpening, you're building rapport, you're getting to know them just on a human level. And then the next thing, before I transition into like creating wish list, this is the gap where I find a really good transition point to like share goals with customers, is like right before I show them new stuff. So the next part would be share goals before you dive into like the wish list stuff, and some specific verbiage that I use to like transition is I'll say, now that everything is sharpened and good to go, I'm going to show you some new stuff, but before I do, can I share what I'm working on right now or super excited about? That's it. It's so simple. And then go in, if you have a goal sheet, I recommend it.
Say that again.
Yeah. Also, just so you guys know, you can write stuff down, but I'll email all this to you guys too, so you have. I'm ripping through it. Sorry. Just let me know if you need me to slow down. Okay. So I'll repeat that. So now that everything is sharpened and good to go, I'll show you some new stuff. But before I do, can I share what I'm working on right now or super excited about? So now that everything is sharpened, good to go, I'll show you some new stuff. But before I do, can I share what I'm working on right now, super excited about? And then go in, share your goals how you normally would on a regular demo, right? At the very end, let's say you have a gold thermometer and there's like 10K left on it. I love the line. I think Coco created this line. I don't know if you guys know Coco. It's Bert's wife. It's like if there's like 10 grand left on your goal, you can be like, hey, if you want to write me a check for 10 grand right now, that would be great. I could just take the rest of the week off. That's a fun one to throw out there. Okay, so then building the wish list. So I like to say this is where it gets to be a lot of fun. So transition to the wish list from your goals. What I like to say is this. Now I'm going to show you some new stuff and build your wish list. If there's anything that you see that you like, would use, or give away as a gift, we will put it on your wish list. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it all today. However, I will do my best to tempt you with a sharp deal. It kind of like brings their wall down, makes them relax. They're like, okay, this person's not going to be high pressure with me. Like, they're just showing me new stuff and we're making a wish list. Sweet, you know. Now, how do you actually show them new stuff? First thing you got to do is evaluate what they have, right? Everyone's different. If they have a homemaker, you're not going to show them any homemaker pieces. If they have an Alti, you're probably not going to show them many knives other than like the specialty knives if you have them with you, right? So every person is going to be different. But what I like to do, which it works with everybody, is I like to give everyone what I say is, Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you a bird's eye view of everything Cutco has to offer. A bird's eye view of everything Cutco has to offer. Now, when I do the bird's eye view, I don't go crazy in depth on each thing. It's more so simply to like gauge interest on what I should dive deeper into, because there's a lot of different things we can sell with Cutco, right? So when I give them a bird's eye view, there's knives and there's upgrades, right? There's flatware, there's cookware, there's accessories, there's outdoor knives, there's business gifts, and then family program. Like, that's the bird's eye view of everything Cutco has to offer, right? So I like to say, like, most people, they'll always gravitate towards the knives because that's what they have. If you have someone interested in cookware, great. You know, focus on cookware, watch some videos on it. But like I said, every customer is different, so every appointment is going to be different. Like, I think back to this lady, Karen Charles, who I did a service call with like 2 years ago. Only reason I'm remembering this now is she's booked for my service event in a couple weeks. So she's coming back for the second time for service. The first time I went to her house, this time she's coming to my event. I show up, she had a Siggy steak, and I'm like, dang it, she's got a lot of Cutco already. And I end up sharpening all the knives. I start building a wish list. I do this bird's eye view thing with her, and she's like, I kind of like maybe a few more knives to have, but I'm interested in the cookware. So what I did is I started with the knives. I pitched an upgrade, and she was like, okay, let's put that on my wish list, but let's look at the cookware. So I go over the cookware with her, and then she ends up picking like an accomplished cookware set is what she liked. And then I looked at her and I said, Karen, it's not uncommon for people to bundle their cookware with their upgrade. Just for fun, could I show you what I could do for you on that today? Like, just for fun. The just for fun line hits. People love the just for fun line. And she was like, sure. And so I packaged it all together, and she ended up doing it. And it was like a $4,500 order on a service call, walking in as someone who had a Siggy steak, right? So that's kind of the structure that I do. So when it comes to like building the wish list, when you're done going through like literally like everything that they were interested in or what they wanted to look at, what I'll do is I take everything and I say, all right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bundle your wish list together. Like I said, you don't have to get it all today, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't at least tease you with a deal, right? So then I package it all together, whatever they're looking at, whether it's 3 pieces or it's an upgrade with cookware, right? And I do a deal and I'll write down the pricing. And then I'll say, you know, if it's expensive, I'll say, hey, Karen, stay in your chair. If you get lightheaded, you know, I don't want you to fall over, right? Just be playful like that, you know, hand over the deal and, you know, good or not, right? If they say no, then try and drop down if it's a bigger package, right? Just because they said no right away doesn't mean there's not a yes there. I've had plenty of people that have started with like a $4,000 package because they were like putting everything and anything on the list because they love everything. They can't afford that $4,000 package, right? And then we end up doing like a $600 order, right? If they don't like the package, be like, I'm curious, like out of this stuff, like what are the top 5 things? If it's a big list, right? And kind of drop down from there. So. Okay, and then for the final part, for the Rex approach, which would be the third promise, right? I personally haven't been asking for Rex recently because I'm just like crazy busy. However, like do you guys use like the app or You do? Okay. So I've never used the app. I have no idea how it works. So I would go into your standard Rex approach. Like, this is the biggest way you can help me out, Mrs. Jones, blah, blah, blah. Right? Go into your approach and do the Rex approach that way. A really good thought jogger for people is like, they own Cutco already. Say, hey, I'm curious, who do you know that owns Cutco that could also use a sharpening like today? Right? Because they probably bought from the college kid and they probably recommended some of their friends back when they did it, right? Or some of their other family members. Or they're probably like, hey, Anita was the one who sent me, Josh, who gave me the demo. You should go sharpen Anita's knives. That's how I even got them in the first place, So.
What is your rec approach? Like, where you don't use that? Like what?
Pen and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I meant like transitioning from the closing the order and then how do you go about it? Just go right.
For me right now, I just do a referral program, just because I haven't had time to do a lot of demos or anything, and I haven't done demos in a while. So what I do is like, hey, Mrs. Jones, just so you know, I have a referral program. If you know anyone that's interested in buying Cutco that comments on it at your house, like for every $400 that they spend, I will buy you $100 of free Cutco. So that's what I do for my clients, right? I have access to 1/3 because I'm a CSP. I mean, your managers all do the DMs and stuff. So if you could work something out with them, if you wanted to do something like that, go for it. But for reference, I did a demo 3 weeks ago, and it was a referral. I had a customer who bought a Siggy during at Ridgedale Mall last December, and they end up running into Juju at a home show, and they bought another 5-piece and steak knives from him, and then they were like, yeah, my parents want Cutco, and Juju's like, have them reach out to Jared. And so boom, I got their contact. I call them, went and did a demo, Siggy steak. Yeah, and then they got $100 of free Cutco because it was over $400.
So what do you mentioned something about free product? Like how many referrals do you usually put on it until you get something away for free?
I would say 15 referrals, give them a peeler, right? 25 referrals, maybe give them a trimmer. I don't know. Think about 25 referrals could turn into a lot of CPO, especially if they're good referrals. So.
When you are making a package for people, do you do the maximum amount of free stuff?
Mm-mm.
What do you usually do?
I usually go to about 8% bonus to start.
Okay.
That's kind of my start point when I give a deal is I usually do about 8% bonus. Or I look at what were they most excited about out of everything, buy that for them if it's not too much, right?
Okay.
Because people love getting what they want for free.
Kind of going off that, I know this isn't service specific, but when you're selling a homemaker and stuff, do you even tell them you get shears for free right off the bat?
No.
No.
A lot of times, if I'm just at an event and I'm working, I show the pricing, right? And then I kind of gauge to see where they're at, and if they tell me they need to think about it, right, then I go into my approach of giving a better deal or throwing something in for free, right? A lot of times I'll say, hey, I'm, just so you know, Cutco likes to incentivize clients that do it here. Do you want to hear what Cutco's doing on top of the package pricing? And they'll say, yeah. And then I talk about the cutting board and the sharpener because I don't talk about that at all at my events, right? They don't see it on the paper that there's a cutting board and a sharpener included with it. Cutco includes that for free on Cutco's end. It's not me doing it, so never say you're buying it for free, right? But Cutco will include a cutting board. People love these because it's polypropylene. So what's cool is when they get beat up and cut up over time, you can mail it in. Cutco will replace it for free. You never buy a cutting board again. But you always want to damage the board, not the knives, right? So if you're using something too hard, your knives are going to go dull way too fast. So the cool thing is when this wears out, we just replace it for you. And then you get a nice little straight edge sharpener too, just to touch up your paring knife, your chef knife, your butcher knife, because those are usually the most used in the set. So just for your convenience, but we'll sharpen your knives anytime you need for free too. So yeah, but back to the bonus thing. If they push back on whatever the order is, kind of gauge them. If they really want everything, just be like, hey, I'm curious. If I did do something crazy turbo extra special on top of what I already did, would you maybe consider that? And if they're like hard no, then it's like drop down to something smaller, right? If they're like, well, what can you do? You know, then go all out, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and close it.
Yeah.
So. I'm not saying give the boat on every order, but I'm not afraid to give like 30% off if I need to close an order, right? Don't do it on every order, but don't be afraid to do it if you have to close an order, because an order today is better than a maybe tomorrow, you know? So. You guys have any other questions? No? Was that good?
That was really good.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
great.
thanks. This was my first time doing it, so thanks for
Really?
being the first round. Yeah,
Wants to stop
if you want to stop the recording, yeah.